vision is flawed.
For decades, Star Wars lightsaber duels have been treated like these big, flashy, cinematic showdowns. We watch Luke and Vader face off, or Obi-Wan and Anakin going at it, and our brains just go, wow, this is epic. And sure, they are epic. They're some of the most iconic moments in movie history. But here's the thing, most of us have been watching them wrong. Because under all the glowing blades, the sparks, and the slow-motion drama, there's an entire hidden language being spoken. A layer of tactical genius, of deliberate choices, of in-universe combat logic that's way more than just two actors swinging sticks. And if you've only been watching the surface, you've been missing the real show. Think about it. Lightsabers are the ultimate melee weapon in a galaxy far, far away. They're not just laser swords, they're weightless, perfectly balanced, and they can cut through almost anything. That changes everything about how you fight. You don't need to hack away at armor, you can slice through it like butter. You don't need to stab for vital organs, you can end a fight in one well-placed strike. So why don't we see Jedi and Sith just flailing around, swinging wildly like it's some medieval battlefield? Because in the Star Wars universe, that would be suicide. Lightsaber combat is precise. It's calculated. Every movement matters. Every step, every pivot, every choice to block instead of dodge. It's all rooted in a system of forms, counters, and situational reads that most casual viewers don't even realize is there. And no, this isn't just nerdy over analysis. This is actually baked into the Star Wars lore. George Lucas and the fight choreographers didn't just think, hey, let's make cool sword fights. They built these duels around the idea that the Jedi Order had 1,000 years of codified training methods, 7 official forms of lightsaber combat, each with its own strengths, weaknesses, and philosophies. This is why Obi-Wan doesn't fight like Anakin, why Vader's strikes are deliberate and heavy, why Yoda flips like an acrobat, but Mace Windu moves like a predator on the hunt. It's not just style, it's strategy. Take Obi-Wan, for example. He's a master of Form 3, Sora Su, the defensive style. This is why, in Revenge of the Sith, he spends most of his duel with Anakin deflecting and waiting. He's not trying to overpower his opponent, he's letting Anakin burn himself out, using precision blocks to control the flow until he sees the perfect opening. That's not playing it safe. That's battlefield psychology. That's knowing your opponent so well that you turn their biggest strengths, aggression, power, into fatal weaknesses. And then you've got Darth Vader, slower, heavier, but don't mistake that for clumsiness. Vader's style is about dominance. It's about controlling space, pushing his opponent into mistakes by making them feel like they have nowhere to run. When he fights Luke and the Empire Strikes Back, he's not just testing him, he's hurting him. Every step Luke takes, every parry is being subtly dictated by Vader's positioning. It's like a chess match, where Vader's already thinking 5 moves ahead, and Luke's just trying to keep up. And here's where it gets even cooler. Lightsaber duels aren't just about swordsmanship. They're about force powers, terrain, psychological manipulation, and sometimes storytelling through silence. Think about Luke in Return of the Jedi. That duel with Vader isn't just about winning. It's about Luke choosing not to kill. His stance, his breathing, even the way he drops his saber at the end. It's all part of the choreography because, in universe, Jedi believe that victory is as much about control over yourself as it is control over your opponent. But here's the twist. The fights aren't just cool because the lore says so. The fight designers actually built these principles into the way actors move. Nick Gillard, the stunt coordinator for the prequel trilogy, literally created different movement vocabularies for each character. He'd give Anakin bigger, more aggressive flourishes. He'd make Obi-Wan's moves smaller, tighter, more defensive. He'd choreograph Dooku with elegance. a duelist who fights with one hand because it's more efficient and more intimidating to an opponent. When you start to see these choices, not as, oh, that's just choreography, but as, this is a warrior showing you their training and mindset, every duel changes meaning. And then there's the whole meta layer, how these fights reflect the story in real time. In The Phantom Menace, that three-way duel between Qui-Gon, Obi-Wan, and Maul is not just about flashy spins. It's about Qui-Gon's calm patience versus Maul's relentless offense. It's about Obi-Wan's transformation from reactive Padawan to decisive warrior in the span of minutes. Or look at Revenge of the Sith. The Mustafar duel isn't just two guys fighting. It's two brothers tearing each other apart. Every over-the-top swing, every dangerous leap, it's pure emotional overflow. They're not just fighting to win. They're fighting because they have to, because the galaxy isn't big enough for both of them anymore. So yeah, once you know how to read a lightsaber fight, it's not just eye candy anymore. It's a whole new language of storytelling, blending martial arts philosophy, character psychology, and narrative stakes into something that works on two levels: the surface, cool, and the deep, layered logic underneath. And that's what we're going to dig into. We're going to break down the real mechanics of Jedi and Sith combat, how the forms work, why certain moves only appear in certain fights, and how even the smallest gesture can mean the difference between victory and getting sliced in half. We're going to look at duels you thought you knew by heart and show you the tactical plays hidden in plain sight. We'll separate the showmanship from the survival instincts, and by the end of this, you'll never watch a Star Wars lightsaber battle the same way again. So ready to see the Force in a whole new light? Let's ignite those sabers and begin. When you watch a lightsaber duel in Star Wars, it's easy to get caught up in the colors, the sparks, the cinematic flair. But if you strip away the spectacle, what you're left with is a high-stakes chess match played at the speed of instinct. Every force push, you see? It's not random. It's a calculated move designed to break rhythm, create distance, or force an opponent into an unfavorable position. Jedi and Sith aren't just swinging. They're managing space, momentum, and energy in real time. Take the force push, for example. It's not simply about blasting someone across the room, it's a disruption tool. When an opponent is pressing too hard, a well-timed push buys a precious second to reset your stance, recenter your breathing, and regain control. In a duel where milliseconds matter, that second can mean survival. And it works both ways. If you see your opponent favoring it, you can counter by closing distance before they have time to channel it, forcing them back into melee. Now let's talk about the lightsaber block. In the films and shows, it can look like a dramatic pause between strikes. But in reality, or rather in in-universe combat logic, a block isn't passive. It's a launch pad. It redirects incoming energy, sets up counterattacks, and even telegraphs your opponent's next move based on the angle and pressure of their strike. A Sith might deliberately test a Jedi's block at a certain angle just to feel where their balance point is, then exploit that weakness seconds later. But what truly separates the masters from the reckless is something fighters call the flow state. For Jedi, it's about harmony, feeling the rhythm of the fight, anticipating without overthinking, letting the Force guide their movement. For Sith, it's almost the opposite, leaning into controlled aggression, feeding off adrenaline, and using emotional spikes to overwhelm the opponent's composure. Two completely different philosophies, yet both equally lethal when the fighter is fully in the zone. And then there's the environment, one of the most underestimated factors in any duel. We tend to remember the big open space battles, but the most dangerous fights often happen in terrain that demands adaptation. Narrow catwalks change footwork. Sloped ground shifts balance. Low ceilings limit upward strikes. Even the lighting matters. Shadows can hide movement, reflections can mislead. Obi-Wan and Anakin's duel on Mustafar? The lava wasn't just for drama. The heat, the smoke, the unstable platforms all forced constant adjustment, turning endurance into a weapon. So the next time you watch a lightsaber fight, look past the glow and listen to the language of movement, pressure, and positioning. You'll start to see that every clash, every pause, every sudden leap is part of a bigger tactical conversation, one where the wrong response can end it all in a heartbeat. Let's be honest, most people watch Star Wars lightsaber duels for the spectacle. The flashes, the spins, the perfectly timed leaps. But beneath that spectacle lies an entirely different layer, a hidden storytelling language written in the choreography itself. Every fight, every flourish, every clash of blades isn't just action. It's character development, world building, and emotional subtext, all delivered without a single line of dialogue. Signature moves as character DNA. One of the clearest ways to read a fight is by spotting a character's signature moves. These aren't just cool tricks. They're physical expressions of personality, training background, and even moral philosophy. Obi-Wan Kenobi uses the Soresu form, a defensive style designed to outlast opponents rather than overpower them. His repeated use of tight parries and minimal movement tells you something. Obi-Wan is disciplined, patient, and cautious to a fault. Darth Maul's wide, sweeping strikes and acrobatics reflect his Zabrak warrior heritage, and Sith training, aggressive, intimidating, and built to overwhelm. Anakin Skywalker, especially in Revenge of the Sith, favors relentless forward pressure and powerful strikes. It's not just that he's strong, it's that he wants to dominate, to end the fight on his terms. That's a personality trait bleeding into combat. Spot these recurring motifs, and you'll start noticing how even without dialogue, you can hear who a character is through their blade work. Choreography across the trilogies, a reflection of era and tone. The Star Wars saga spans decades in universe and nearly half a century in real-world filmmaking. The evolution of fight choreography isn't just a change in stunt coordination, it mirrors the political and emotional landscape of the galaxy. Prequel trilogy fights are complex, athletic, and heavily influenced by martial arts forms like wushu. The Jedi are in their prime here, trained from childhood, disciplined, and confident. This elegance reflects the Republic's height, even as it teeters toward collapse. Original trilogy duels are slower, more deliberate. Part of this is filmmaking limitation at the time. But narratively, it works. By this point, Jedi are nearly extinct. Combatants are older or self-trained, and the galaxy is scarred. Fights are less about flashy skill and more about emotional stakes. Think Luke versus Vader in Return of the Jedi. Sequel trilogy choreography blends the two. There's more raw athleticism than in the OT, but the fights are messier than the prequels. This matches the chaos of a galaxy where Force users are rare and often self-taught, fighting with instinct over perfect form. Rey's wide swings and Kylo Ren's brutal, hammer-like strikes perfectly fit their inexperience and emotional volatility. Subtle cues that reveal more than words. If you watch closely, you can often tell a fighter's background, current state of mind, and even moral alignment by the way they move. Footwork and stance. Jedi tend to keep a balanced stance with light, precise footwork, conserving energy and maintaining control. Sith, by contrast, often take wider, grounded stances, anchoring themselves for bursts of raw power. Blade positioning. A high guard often signals readiness to counter, while a low, loose guard might indicate confidence or recklessness. Maul's behind-the-back saber hold in The Phantom Menace is part showmanship, part psychological warfare. Pacing. Jedi fights often build gradually with deliberate probing strikes. Sith tend to escalate quickly, testing defenses early and pressing weaknesses. Adaptation mid-fight, this is where skill truly shows. Watch how Vader adjusts his style between fighting Luke in Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi. In Empire, he toys with Luke, controlling the pace. In Jedi, sensing Luke's growing strength, he becomes more aggressive. A shift in tactics that tells you he respects and fears Luke's potential. Why this matters to the story. All of this layered detail means that a fight isn't just filler between plot points. It is the plot. A duel between two characters can resolve emotional arcs, foreshadow betrayals, or visually depict a power shift without a single word spoken. When Anakin and Obi-Wan's final battle unfolds on Mustafar, the mirrored choreography early on. The way they match each other beat for beat reinforces that these two fighters know each other intimately. As the fight drags on, their styles diverge, and the chaos reflects the emotional unraveling between them. So the next time you watch a lightsaber duel, try reading it like a conversation. Notice the recurring moves, the stances, the tempo shifts. What are they saying to each other without speaking? The answers might make you realize that some of the most powerful storytelling in Star Wars isn't in the dialogue. It's in the dance of the blades. One of the most fascinating aspects of lightsaber duels is how the physics of this fictional universe allow combat to remain cinematic and prolonged without becoming instantly fatal. In-universe, lightsabers can slice through virtually any material, yet characters rarely cleave their opponents in half with the first swing. This is thanks to the concept of energy deflection and skillful control of the blade. Jedi and Sith are trained to control their strikes, often stopping short of full penetration, creating a balance between danger and drama. Every parry, block, and tap is calibrated to maintain tension while allowing both combatants to continue exchanging blows. It's a delicate equilibrium that transforms what could be a single, decisive strike into a dynamic, narrative-rich duel. Force abilities amplify this dynamic. A well-timed push or pull, or even a leap aided by the Force, extends the duel's choreography and introduces layers of strategy. Force-enhanced strikes are not mere spectacle. They serve tactical purposes, such as breaking an opponent's stance, redirecting momentum, or creating space to recover. However, the use of Force powers must be carefully considered within storytelling constraints. Overuse risks turning fights into deus ex machina sequences, where outcomes hinge less on skill and more on narrative convenience. The most compelling duels strike a balance. Force powers enhance the combat, emphasizing character ingenuity and adaptability rather than replacing it. Comparing lightsaber combat to real-world martial arts reveals both parallels and departures. Jedi sword forms were inspired by classical fencing, kendo, and even Chinese swordplay. The same principles, control of distance, timing, leverage, and feints, apply in a Star Wars context, giving the duels an intuitive physicality that resonates with viewers. Footwork, angles, and stance transitions mimic real combat reasoning. A strong defensive posture allows one to conserve energy and anticipate attacks, while aggressive forms exploit openings and maintain pressure. Yet beyond these foundations, the fantastical elements take over. Blades hum with plasma energy, swing arcs defy normal physics, and acrobatics reach impossible heights. These exaggerations serve the dual purpose of reinforcing the mythic tone of the saga while visually distinguishing lightsaber combat from terrestrial swordplay. The fictional physics also inform environmental interactions. Blades slice through doors, hover platforms, or walls without catastrophic collateral damage, suggesting a form of selective energy interaction. Similarly, dueling on unstable terrain, such as Mustafar's lava flows or the hallways of the Death Star, demonstrates an intuitive understanding of real-world physics applied within a controlled, fantastical framework. Characters respond dynamically to shifting footing, balance, and verticality, which maintains believability despite the magical veneer. Ultimately, these constructed rules of physics serve storytelling. They allow duels to be thrilling, readable, and emotionally charged while remaining coherent. Fans can follow the action, anticipate strategic decisions, and appreciate each tactical nuance without suspension of disbelief collapsing entirely. Lightsaber combat, when examined through this lens, is not merely flashy choreography. It is a sophisticated system combining martial skill, force mastery, and carefully engineered fictional physics to craft some of the most memorable cinematic confrontations in science fiction history. When you strip away the sparks, flips, and glowing blades, the true heartbeat of a Star Wars duel is emotional. Every swing, block, or lunge carries layers of motivation, fear, and ambition. In the best duels, choreography isn't just about martial skill. It's a direct translation of what a character feels and what's at stake in that moment. A swing aimed high might communicate raw aggression, while a cautious parry can signal hesitation, doubt, or the weight of moral conflict. Understanding this emotional coding is key to appreciating why some duels endure in cinematic memory decades after their release. Consider the duel between Obi-Wan Kenobi and Anakin Skywalker on Mustafar. On the surface, it's a battle of lightsabers across a volatile volcanic landscape. But look closer. Every arc of the blade, every push and retreat mirrors the tragic trajectory of their relationship. Anakin's furious wide swings aren't just fighting techniques. They express betrayal, grief, and suppressed frustration. Obi-Wan's precise defensive blocks reveal his internal conflict, loyalty to his friend, horror at Anakin's transformation, and a measured desire to subdue rather than destroy. Even in moments where no contact is made, the choreography tells the story. A missed strike or a forced retreat signals an emotional pivot, fear, hesitation, or an unspoken appeal for restraint. These near misses heighten tension, creating stakes without relying on literal harm, and they make the audience emotionally invested in every motion. Emotional stakes are equally evident in duels with high moral complexity. Luke Skywalker versus Darth Vader in Return of the Jedi isn't just a test of skill, it's a collision of ideology, loyalty, and the potential for redemption. Luke's aggressive pushes, desperate strikes, and moments of hesitation communicate internal conflict. He wants to defeat Vader, but he refuses to kill him. Vader's measured, dominant movements convey both mastery and his own internal struggle, reflecting a lifetime of conflict and guilt. The choreography externalizes psychological tension, making the duel a narrative device as much as a visual spectacle. Each near miss, each parried strike tells the audience exactly where these characters stand morally and emotionally. Strategic retreats are another subtle yet powerful storytelling tool. A fighter doesn't just move backward to gain distance. It can indicate fear, doubt, or a need to reassess strategy under emotional duress. A retreating Jedi might be weighing the consequences of an aggressive strike, conscious of innocent bystanders or the potential for overreach. A Sith, stepping back, may be baiting, manipulating the opponent, or exhibiting confidence in a larger plan. By encoding these psychological cues into movement, the choreography communicates layers of narrative information that dialogue alone cannot. The most memorable duels, therefore, are those where the emotional and tactical intertwine seamlessly. Consider Rey versus Kylo Ren in The Rise of Skywalker. Her defensive yet adaptive style reflects insecurity tempered with determination. His raw, aggressive attacks reflect rage and obsession. Each movement embodies their personalities and stakes, and the audience reads the subtext through body language as much as plot exposition. The choreography becomes a language in itself, conveying tension, desire, fear, and moral conflict simultaneously. Moreover, these emotionally driven moments elevate duels beyond spectacle. They allow audiences to internalize the stakes on a personal level. A failed strike, a parry at the last possible second, or a moment of hesitation becomes relatable. Fear, determination, and moral choice are universal human experiences. This emotional resonance is why lightsaber duels remain iconic. They are not just fights, but storytelling in motion, a visual essay on the consequences of choice, identity, and power. Finally, the enduring appeal lies in the layered narrative structure embedded in choreography. While casual viewers may enjoy flashy swings and impressive stunts, attentive viewers are rewarded with a deeper understanding. Duels communicate inner conflicts, character arcs, and thematic tension. The combination of skill, environment, and emotion transforms combat into a multi-dimensional storytelling medium. It's why, decades later, audiences still recall the rhythm of Mustafar, the desperation in Luke's strikes, or the precision in Obi-Wan's blocks. These duels are more than action. They are cinematic poetry, where each clash of light becomes a reflection of character, story, and the very essence of the Force itself. In short, the emotional core of lightsaber combat makes it timeless. It's not just about who wins or loses. It's about the narrative, the stakes, and the raw human emotions encoded in every swing. By examining duels through this lens, we can see how Star Wars transforms battle into storytelling, making each clash unforgettable, not merely visually spectacular.